Hey everyone, my name is Amal and you're watching Newsbreak. Let's see what's coming up on today's show. Kids in the Pacific share their climate hopes and fears. Madison de Rosario wins the New York Marathon. And a slackliner balances above the streets of La Paz. But before we get started, you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button, if you haven't already. Right now, young people all around the world have their eyes on the COP26 Climate Summit in Glasgow. And today, we're going to meet some young people who live in the Pacific Islands. And they say what's happening over there could have some big impacts on their future.
Climate change is an issue that this country has been facing all over the past years, up until now.
Shannon lives in the Solomon Islands, and she says places she used to visit as a kid are now underwater.
I never get to see the whole island of Northambu. The middle part of the island with 100 plus houses are now covered with the sea.
Scientists say sea levels have risen by 30 centimetres in the last 30 years, threatening many Pacific islands.
What I think about is what happened when Cyclone Pam hit us here.
Tanya lives in Vanuatu and has already experienced devastating cyclones.
You could hear the glass shattering and the water came up to that kind of point that the glass shattered so hard. I felt very scared.
A recent climate report says kids today are 10 times more likely to experience extreme weather events than their parents.
When a first cyclone hit with thunder and lightning, I looked outside the window and I was scared.
Ayana is 8 and she lives in Fiji. At school, she has lessons about cyclone preparation.
We learned that we should board up out the windows because strong wind can come.
With so much on the line, these kids are watching closely what happens in Glasgow and hoping world leaders can come up with climate solutions.
I want the world leaders to sympathize with us Pacific Island countries and how they are struggling to survive due to climate change.
A whole bunch of restrictions have been lifted for fully vaccinated people in New South Wales. As of today, you can have as many visitors as you want in your house. And there are no limits on crowds in major recreation and entertainment venues. Dancing is also back on and swimming pools are open for paddling. Speaking of dancing, there's some of that in sport today, and some other stuff.
Who don't you want to mess with at this year's T20 World Cup? It's us, Australia. Well, more specifically, these guys. Semi-finals, here we come. After an 8-wicket win over the West Indies in Abu Dhabi, David Warner scored an unbeaten 89 to secure victory with 22 balls to spare. Now, what can get in the way of a Wallabies winning streak? Scotland. After 5 wins in a row, Australia lost to Scotland, 13-15 at Murrayfield Stadium in Edinburgh. In the last 15 minutes, James O'Connor tried to save things with this penalty, but Finn Russell wrestled back the lead for the Scots. Ah well, it was good while it lasted. Now to a winning streak that's still going. Australian racer Madison de Rosario has just won the New York Marathon Women's Wheelchair Division. It tops off a fantastic year for the athlete, who also won gold at the Tokyo Paralympics. And finally, here's that dancing we promised. B-Boy Amir and B-Girl Logistics here have been crowned champions at the 2021 BC1 World Final. At just 18, Logistics is now the youngest woman to win the event, which pits the best breakdancers from 18 countries against each other in one-on-one battles.
Finally today, we're going to leave you with some stories to lighten up your day. Well, hopefully. Like these lighter-than-air balloons in Cappadocia in Turkey. This time-lapse vision shows dozens of them floating above the volcanic rock formations. And believe it or not, this isn't an uncommon sight here. Around 100 hot air balloons take off from Goromet every morning. Looking at this, you might feel a little lightheaded that is. But Miriam Campoloni doesn't seem too stressed. On the weekend, she took a casual stroll between skyscrapers in La Paz in Bolivia. And just a few months ago, she pulled off this amazing feat, walking between 2 glaciers over a frozen lake in the Andes. And finally, to Oslo in Norway, where a light festival is literally lighting up the day. Yeah, I know it looks like it's late at night, but in Oslo, the sun sets at 4 p.m. at this time of year. So locals are pretty keen to get out and enjoy the art installations, which are all based on this year's theme, the environment. And that's lights out for us. See you tomorrow.